Chapter 3, Biopsychology. Today we are going to step into one of the most fascinating areas of psychology, biopsychology, also called biological psychology or behavioral neuroscience. This field reminds us that psychology is not just about abstract theories of behavior. It is deeply rooted in the body. Every emotion you feel, every memory you hold, and every decision you make is tied to your biology. Understanding this connection between mind and body is central to modern psychology. We begin at the level of genetics. Inside nearly every cell of your body, DNA holds the blueprint of life. Genes, segments of DNA, carry instructions for producing proteins, and these proteins influence everything from eye color to temperament. But genetics is not destiny. We distinguish between genotype, which is your genetic makeup, and phenotype, which is how those genes are expressed in real life, influenced by environment and experience. You may inherit genes that give you the potential to be tall, for example, but poor nutrition can limit how that potential develops. This interplay of genes and environment brings us back to psychology's classic nature versus nurture debate. The truth is that both are essential. Genes set the possibilities, but environment determines how those possibilities unfold. Psychologists study this relationship through behavioral genetics. Twin studies, for example, reveal that while identical twins share nearly all their genes, their life experiences can shape very different personalities. The lesson here is clear. Biology and environment are constantly working together to shape who we are. If genes provide the blueprint, the nervous system provides the wiring that makes us who we are. At the most basic level, this system is built from specialized cells called neurons. Neurons are remarkable communicators. They have dendrites that receive signals, a cell body that integrates those signals, and an axon that sends messages to the next neuron. Messages travel down axons as tiny electrical impulses, and when they reach the end, chemicals called neurotransmitters leap across the gap to continue the message. Neurotransmitters play key roles in everyday life. Dopamine is central to pleasure and movement. Serotonin regulates mood, sleep, and appetite. Acetylcholine is vital for memory and muscle control, and endorphins act as natural painkillers. When neurotransmitters are imbalanced, problems can arise. Low serotonin is linked to depression, while disruptions in dopamine are connected to schizophrenia and Parkinson's disease. Supporting all this neural activity are glial cells, which nourish neurons, remove waste, and even help communication. Zooming out from individual neurons, we see the grand structure of the nervous system. It is divided into two main parts: the central nervous system, consisting of the brain and spinal cord, and the peripheral nervous system, made up of all the nerves that connect the body to the brain. The peripheral system branches further into the somatic nervous system, which handles voluntary movements and sensory input, and the autonomic nervous system, which manages involuntary functions like heartbeat and digestion. The autonomic system itself has two halves: the sympathetic division, which triggers the fight or flight response in times of stress, and the parasympathetic division, which calms the body back down in rest and digest mode. The constant push and pull between these two systems keeps us balanced. At the center of it all is the brain and spinal cord. The spinal cord not only relays messages between brain and body, but also handles reflexes that keep us safe, like pulling your hand back from a hot stove before you even realize what happened. The brain itself can be understood in three broad regions. The hindbrain controls the most basic functions of life: breathing, heartbeat, balance, and movement. The midbrain manages sensory processing and attention. And the forebrain, the largest and most complex region, is the seat of higher functions: reasoning, memory, and emotion. Within the forebrain, we find the limbic system, critical for memory and emotion. The hippocampus helps us form new memories, while the amygdala is central to fear and aggression. At the surface lies the cerebral cortex, the wrinkled outer layer that makes us uniquely human. Divided into two hemispheres connected by the corpus callosum, the cortex is organized into four lobes: the frontal lobe for reasoning and movement, the parietal lobe for touch and spatial awareness, the temporal lobe for hearing and language, and the occipital lobe for vision. Together, these areas allow us to think, perceive, and interact with the world in astonishingly complex ways. But biology does not stop with neurons and brain structures. The endocrine system also plays a vital role in regulating behavior. Unlike the nervous system, which communicates quickly with electrical impulses, the endocrine system communicates more slowly using hormones carried in the bloodstream. Glands such as the pituitary, thyroid, adrenal glands, pancreas, and gonads release hormones that regulate growth, metabolism, stress responses, and reproduction. The endocrine and nervous systems work hand in hand. For example, when you face a stressful event, your hypothalamus signals your pituitary gland, which in turn triggers the adrenal glands to release cortisol and adrenaline, preparing your body to fight or flee. When we put all of this together, we see a picture of psychology that is inseparable from biology. Genes provide the foundation. Neurons and neurotransmitters enable communication. The nervous system coordinates action. The brain integrates perception and memory. And the endocrine system regulates long-term processes. Every thought, every feeling, and every action arises from this extraordinary biological machinery. Chapter 3 reminds us that psychology cannot be understood without biology. The mind and body are not separate. They are two sides of the same coin. To understand human behavior, we must understand the systems that underlie it, from our genes to our neurons to our hormones. Biopsychology is the bridge that connects the physical with the psychological, showing us that to study the mind is, in many ways, to study life itself.